Brando Benifei is a European lawmaker and the chair of the European Parliament delegation for relations with the United States. He joins me now. Good evening, sir. So there's two distinct sides to this. Let's just first of all focus on what Anna was talking about on the first bit. You don't get the cheaper tariff on cars unless you eliminate tariffs on all US industrial goods and provide preferential market access for seafood, agriculture, nuts, trees, dairy, fresh, and etc., etc. You've read it. How easy will it be to get the union members to agree to that bit?
Well, it will not take a long time, to be honest, because the Commission can initiate a legislative procedure on this quite soon. In fact, we expect this to start before the end of August. Then the Member States and the European Parliament, so it's like the United States and the Congress of the US for the EU, will have to agree. To be honest, I think it will be easier to make it quicker to be concluded if we actually continue negotiating on the agricultural goods and the industrial goods that are exported from EU to US to obtain some exemptions. In fact, if you read further in the text, this is also the possibility that there is further negotiation to find some exemptions for certain goods, and if I may add, also on steel and aluminium, that still stays at 50% tariffs. So yes, we will need to go quick to get the 15% on cars, but I see space for and the need, to be frank, for further negotiation on agricultural and industrial goods.
Well, you're going to end up with a battle within EU members because you're going to have the automobile exporting countries, particularly Germany, wanting that. But you're going to have the agricultural countries, say, or a lot of the southern European countries like your own, saying, oh, we do not want this vast amount of US agricultural imports coming in.
Well, I think we can find a balance, but we need probably some further steps from the US side on exemptions on certain agricultural and industrial products. If you heard the press conference of Trade Commissioner Šefčovič, he mentioned explicitly that we were disappointed that we didn't manage to get indications on these, that we would get some exemptions. And also, steel and aluminium stays at 50%, and this is, in the long term, not acceptable. So these are the sticking points that if we get a bit more from the US side, and I'm optimistic that we can get some openings on that, I'm convinced we can get what the US is demanding today. But presently, without these further steps, this deal seems a bit unbalanced, and I think it will be difficult to pass through without some further work that I think will happen in the next weeks.
Now, why should we have any confidence that you will get greater concessions? I'll tell you why. Firstly, because back in Scotland, the deal was regarded as very one-sided. The deal was regarded as being a great win for the United States. Now we see the framework, and again, the US gets far more out of it. The US has got its own way. So why are you so confident that there will be a rebalancing in the next stage of negotiations when the union's failed twice so far?
I'm confident because the European public and the European businesses are saying clearly that they want stability and clarity, but this cannot be at any cost. So we need to clarify some aspects to make the deal balanced. And I think this work will continue. Otherwise, we can still use counterbalancing measures. It's true that the EU and the EU Commission spearheading the negotiation has chosen to work for a deal, and we all want a deal. But it cannot be at any cost, and still some work needs to be done.
And then we come to this very vague bit about the investments and the energy. Your smile tells me all I need to know. The union intends to procure gas intends to purchase, will endeavour or expected. Nobody for a second believes that half of this is going to happen.
Well, I think that's a bit exaggerated. I was smiling because the numbers, the billions and billions that you read in the text are a little too much, in the sense that this needs to be done with proper procedures. And as it was said earlier, it's also in the hands of the private sector. But I have to say, I see the space for that. Think of the increase also of the defense work at European level, but also investment on having more high quality AI chips. And so there can be space for that, but probably precise numbers are a bit premature.
Sir, I'm grateful to you for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very
We'll talk
much.
more. Thank you.
Thank you.